right, let's jump right into our discussions, which will center on restoring one of the most fundamental relationships, and that's our connection with nature, our reconciliation with the environment, the planet, and other forms of life. And to kick off this series of discussions, we are very pleased to welcome on stage for our first panel of the afternoon. Well, it's titled The Mother of All Reconciliations, Caring for Our Planet. But before I tell you more about the panelists who will be joining us on stage, a word about Galit Kenan, who was meant to be our moderator. Unfortunately, she's unable to join us. She broke her foot over the weekend, and she had to undergo emergency surgery. She sends her regards to you all, and we send her wishes, or our wishes, back to her. So I will have the great pleasure of moderating this session, and I'd like to call on stage Hindu Ibrahim, Nisreen El-Saim, Barbara Bresson-Sussfeld, and Melinda Kramer. And please give them a very warm welcome. A big round of applause. Thank you. Welcome. Please take a seat, ladies. Welcome to all of you. It's great to have you here with us today to discuss one of the most fundamental reconciliations we need to work on, and that's our reconciliation with nature. But before we begin, we have the great privilege of sharing with you a very special message from UN Ambassador for Peace, Jane Goodall, who just gave a very inspiring speech for history at UNESCO, and who recorded a message especially for us. So let's take a listen.
Hello, this is a message from Jane Goodall. First of all, thank you for allowing me to share a few words with you today. We are living through very dark times, times of bitter wars and conflicts around the world. We've never had more need of reconciliation between countries, communities, and families. Every time we find a way to reconcile our differences and restore harmony, we're creating a better future for our children. It's not only between us humans that we need reconciliation. Somehow, we must learn to respect nature, find ways to interact with other species and with the natural world, hoping that there will be forgiveness. We are described as Homo sapiens, the wise people, but it is definitely not wise to be destroying, as we are, our only home. It is desperately important to reconcile the conflict that so often develops between genders. I met the wise chief of a tribe of indigenous people in Latin America. He told me they thought of their tribe as an eagle. One wing is male and the other female, he said, and only when the two wings are equal will our tribe achieve great things. Both men and women have important roles to play in creating a better world. There are different qualities in the two sexes, and we need both to move forward in peace and harmony with each other and with the natural world. Thank you.
What a wonderful message by Jane Goodall. She mentioned the word conflict, and I think it's a great description of what's happening here. We are at war with a mother that is feeding us, Mother Earth, our planet. And what we're going to explore during this panel is this sense of separation between humanity and nature, where it comes from, and of course, how we can reconcile it. That's obviously the subject of all our conversations during this forum. So, Hindu Ibrahim, to start with you, you are an indigenous activist from Chad, and your work highlights the vital role of indigenous knowledge in climate adaptation. So let me ask you, how can global policies better incorporate this wisdom that Jane Goodall referred to foster a deeper, more respectful relationship between humanity and nature? And how can science as well help us to evolve, change the narrative?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all of you. It's so a great pleasure to be with all the sisters here and talking about the Mother Earth. Firstly, before to come to your questions, I wanted all of us to understand, as indigenous peoples, we all said, there is not nature and human. We are all nature. We are part of the nature. We are only one species of the natural world. We are not bigger than the elephant or stronger than the lions, and we are not even bigger to the tiny ant. So we are only one species, part of the nature. So the issue is how we can reconcile ourselves with the rest of the species. So we need to respect them. We need to create a way that they are not separate to us. When the nature thrives, the human thrive. So coming back to what you are asking, how the policies can respect it. So indigenous peoples are protecting the Mother Earth for thousands of years. We are the guardian of the world's ecosystems. So that means we are the best one who know how the nature is functioning. And when you go to all the policymakers at the international level, tomorrow I'm going to Cali, where the thematic is like build the relationship, reconciliations with nature. And of course, we are going to have a climate COP. We are going to have a desertification COP. In all those policy making, they are not people who are living in nature that are taking the decisions. This is the first thing they have really to put in the tables. If they wanted to take a right decision, right policies, they have to put the people who are taking the decisions on the nature, who are acting in the nature, in the tables. And indigenous peoples does that very well. One small example on that. In my organization, I do work with indigenous communities. And then when you see how our way of living is respecting the nature. As cattle herders, when we take our cattle from one place to another one, our cow dung fertile the land, and then the pastoralists move, and then the farmers come, and then they cultivate, and then you have the little ant who come there, the birds come there. So we are protecting this world's ecosystem. We are putting the carbon on the ground. It's completely different than the industrialized agriculture. Here in France, 20% of the agriculture is emitting carbon. In Brazil, more. So we are the right one who can help the policymakers to take a right decision. They are failing. They fail on SDGs because we are in every corner of the world fighting the war. They are failing on the Paris agreements because emission is just going up and up, deforestation going up and up. How they can do to change it? To take indigenous peoples into the decision-making tables and to fund what indigenous peoples are doing to give direct access finance. Because if we have the solutions, we deserve to do the best business model that can protect our nature. That's simple, but they should do that very quickly in this little window we have.
Well, thank you very much, Hindu, and thank you for addressing the elephant in the room here. We are nature. We're not disconnected from nature. It's not us against nature. We are a fruit of nature. And I think it's important to really insist on that fact. Secondly, we had a great conversation earlier this morning with the CEO of Ipsos, who's done a survey to really find out more about perception versus reality when it comes to women empowerment and discrimination, etc. And he mentioned that although women tend to be the victims in terms of the greater numbers of victims of climate change and tend to be more affected by environmental issues, only 19% of COP delegations are headed by women. And yet, as we can see here, women are very much at the forefront of change when it comes to climate action. So, Hindu, let me ask you this other question. As we witness women and people's voices coming increasingly from more marginalized communities, which are not included in negotiation for international climate agreements or decision-making spaces. How do you overcome those challenges of being left out, of not being asked, invited to make decisions and join the table of decision-making?
I think this is really the most important questions because we have the room full of the women. Despite we have men who are supporting women in the room. But, you know, it's so shameful. When we go to the negotiation, still we have to say, put gender here, put women here, put youth here. Like really, our world is naturally composed by women and men. And women are the leaders. When you put women in charge, she delivers. And that's what we are doing in our communities. We work also, in one example of my project, with the indigenous women. We get for the first time a woman land right. It's not easy to get a land right for a woman in Africa in general. My younger sister here, Nasrin, can tell us also. But in indigenous communities, even more. So when we get them a land right, they turn it immediately to do an agroecology. They restore an ecosystem next to a national park. They gain the revenue to get an income. And what they did, just yesterday, my team was in the field. They sent me a photo when they talk about the women who are leading to send their kids to school. They say, like, man, stand up. We need to build a school here. So immediately the government didn't get any other chance to send teachers to these communities because the women get the revenue. They say they have to send the children to school. So when you invest in a woman, you are not investing just in a silo. You are investing in a component of all the society. So they can think about the school, they can think about health, etc. So when you come to the international level, I really know that doing the negotiation for more than 10 years. Just they put you in the room. When you talk about the women issue, they all shut up, they listen. And at the end, they go back to the business as usual. So this is unacceptable. We cannot agree that they just take the decision who are taking us in destroyment of our environment. Because they are the men who are leading. Look at COP27. The Minister of the Environment is a woman, but the chair of the COP is man. Look at COP28, just like yesterday in Dubai. The Environment Minister is a woman. The chair of the COP is a man. And now in just Baku, it is the same. Like really, if it's come to the power, it's the man who can decide. And when it's come to the work, okay, send it to the woman. That needs to change. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you very much, Hindu. Nisreen Naz, leading youth climate advocate from Sudan, how do you see young people contributing to environmental solutions that reconnect us with nature? And what's their role in shaping a future where humanity acts as a caretaker for the earth?
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Just before answering question, I also, of course, want to second what Hindu mentioned and say in many areas in Sudan, 90% of the workers in the fields are women. Exactly 90%, but it's only 13% of women have land rights, basically. And when we try to fight it and give the land rights to the women, gender-based violence was a huge problem. In Sudan and many other places in Africa, unfortunately, and other places around the world too, believe it or not, the legal age for marriage is 9 years old.
Wow.
And FGM is still a huge, very, very huge problem, of course. And at the same time, it was the women who actually led the revolution that we had in 2018, 2019, against the dictatorship that we had in Sudan for 30 years. And basically, the main reason was, one of the main reasons, I can't say the main, but one of them, is it was allowed to the policeman to decide if what I'm wearing is proper or not. And according to his decision, I can go to jail up to 7 days, and then I get what we call a show day where a lot of men come and look at me from all of the angles, wearing the same thing I wore 7 days ago, just to decide if the man was right or not, what I'm wearing is proper or not. And yet, when the revolution succeeded and we started a transitional government, we were promised 40% of the ministerial seats, and we only got 15%. Although we were more than 70% in the streets demonstrating. So it's also very clear how things are going. But going back to Mother Earth and youth, basically, I think we are using wrong, not only terminologies, but wrong parameters. Who said that experience is decided by age? I know a lot of people who are in their 70s, but they never moved from where they were in their 30s, from, like, for example, working skills. And the opposite, I know people who are in their 80s or 70s also, but they are as young in knowledge and excitement for knowing new things and new skills as young people. Who said that us as women, because this is very common, we cannot control ourselves? And who said that being emotional is a bad thing? I think this is one of our strengths, being emotional. I want to share a personal story. In the morning of April 15 to 2023, a war started in Sudan. 2 men decided to start a war, and 42 million paid the price of that. 2 generals, basically. And now Sudan is the biggest crisis, the biggest humanitarian crisis. I know you don't hear about it in the media. It's all about Ukraine and Gaza and other places, but it is. We have 12 million refugees and IDPs, famine, cholera, dengue fever, you name it, whatever. Anyway, just to keep it short, going out of our house, we were stuck in our house for 3 weeks. And in the last week, we didn't have food or water or electricity or anything. And I had a baby. He was 9 months old at that time. So I told my husband, we will die. We might die if we try to go out, but we will definitely die if we stay here. And we live in a big house with other family members, and all of the men kept saying, oh, we don't know. And then all of the women said, no, we go. We actually went out, and we made it. And at some point, I had to make a 7 hours drive from our house to an air base under the shelling and the bombing, just to make it to the flight that was leaving the country. And before getting into the car, because it was only me and the baby, I had to decide if we should die very fast if we got shot, or I put him down in the car with like cushions and stuff, and maybe he get a better chance to live. But then he might starve if no one came to the car and find him. Can you imagine this decision? But this is the truth. We are survivors. Women are survivors, basically. And this is what the spirit that we need to actually secure, like not only secure ourselves and the future, but also save this planet, because, well, how the world is going right now is not actually working. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nisreen. Thank you. And thank you for reminding us that really we are in a position of privilege, being here on stage, discussing how women can play a bigger role in climate change and activism, when for some women, their daily life and existence is about protecting their physical integrity. I mean, a girl of 9 having to get married, can you imagine? I have a daughter, it's terrible. And of course, feeding your children, surviving. So thank you very much for that. What's interesting about this panel and this forum overall is the variety of experiences and stakeholders we've got here with us today. And when it comes to protecting the planet and our resources, it's only going to work if you engage absolutely everyone, and that includes, of course, the private sector. And Barbara, that's why you're here, of course, as CSR Director at L'Oréal Paris. And you're here to tell us why and how multinational corporations like L'Oréal can reshape business practices to not just reduce their environmental impact, but also to actively contribute to the health and resilience of our planet. So we shift towards a more regenerative model. And last night, we had a conversation about empowering consumers themselves, us all, to make the right choices, because we don't always know, or we don't always do what we're supposed to do. Barbara.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. So I'm the corporate voice of this panel, but I'm also big fans of the ladies on my right and on Hindu specifically that I was very happy to meet today. So yes, we are. So I am working for L'Oréal Paris. L'Oréal Paris is one of the biggest beauty brand today in the world. And all the challenge and the opportunities that we have is definitely to balance the economic growth of our business and also the protection of our environment and the contribution also of women, because we are a brand who does believe in the power of women. We do think that women are a tremendous agent of change, and especially regarding the climate crisis that we are going through. So to try to keep it short, today we have, I would say, two things. First, of course, we are really working hard, and we are a huge responsibility in limiting our impact on the planet and on our environment. Okay, and it starts with our products. Today, the products that we sell and that we, from the sourcing, the creation, the distribution, the selling, and the usage that you are doing with our products, because we are considering our impact all across the life cycles of our product. It's not only when we produce it, it's all around, including you as consumers, what you do with our products. We do evaluate the impact of those products, and we work through our science, because we are a scientific-based brand, and we bring innovations together, innovation, sustainability, and progress as much as we can. So very concretely, so it starts with our products, and it all goes also with women, and I will talk about this briefly just afterwards. So with our products, I will take a very simple example, because most of you are washing your hair, I guess so, I hope so, in all countries in the world. So it's a very shared beauty gesture, and we have... and we are leaders in this area, and we do have brands like Elvive or Elsev, or sorry, I don't want to do advertising, but it's a very proper example. So you have a bottle of shampoo at home. And we are working on those products on both our formula and our packaging. So you will tell me, but a bottle of shampoo is a very simple product. But in fact, it's very important that we reduce tremendously the material that we use for those products, that we are getting out of petrochemicals for those products. And today, we are working on this, and for Elvive, we are doing three things. We are lightweighting our packaging, we are getting out of, and we are moving to recycled material, 100% of it. And we are also embarking our consumers to new gesture. And typically, we are going to launch very soon refills of those bottles of shampoo, so that tomorrow, instead of buying a bottle after a bottle, you keep your bottle and you just refill it. And it seems simple, and you will tell me, but okay, this is obvious. But in fact, this is a gesture that is not very much penetrated in the way we use beauty products today. So we do have this responsibility, and we really want to move forward toward that, because we have, as a major brand, a huge responsibility of engaging our consumers, because it's a collective work. We are not going to do only improving our product and including the formula of our product alone. I mean, you have to be with us, and we need to engage our consumers, and that the performance of the product and the usage is still great and is the best of beauty, but at the same time that we considerably reduce our impact on our product overall. So we are doing this, and of course we are supporting this with our advertising and our capacity to talk directly to our consumers. So that's super important. That's very concrete with a bottle of shampoo, but I think it's important that you know that, and that we help you also to do the right move and to do also to have the knowledge of the environmental impact and the improvement that we are bringing to our product. And we do the same with our formula today. For example, on a bottle of shampoo, on the Elvive, 76% of the product that we are using, the ingredients that we are using in our formulas are bio-based or natural origin or abundant minerals. So this is also super important that we are moving out of petrochemistry and moving more towards scientific, inspired by nature chemistry. And then we are also a very strong believers of women as agent of change. So of course we often say that women are the first victims of climate change, but first and foremost they are the first they're first actors and they are first agent of change, and they have to. And as I think it's Mona who said that this morning, she said when you work with women and then we are empowering women, they work for themselves, but they work for their communities, and this is a tremendous lever they have. So we do work, and I think Women Earth Alliance and Menida, that is one of our partners in this journey. We'll talk about that later on.
Thank you very much, Barbara, and thank you for pointing out that we also have responsibilities as consumers. Climate action is not just about activists and NGOs and corporates, it's also about us making particular choices when we are consuming. Melinda Kramer, you are the co-founder and co-executive director of Women's Earth Alliance. Before I even ask you how your organization is tackling critical issues like water access and land rights, I just want you to maybe talk about the genesis of this project, because it all started with you leaving your homeland of the US to move to Africa and be dazzled and be surprised by the link between women, their communities, and the land. So tell us more about that.
Yes, thank you so much, and it's so wonderful to be here on this stage with these incredible leaders. I want to go back even further to this idea of reconciliation of women being inextricably linked to the earth. This is something that connects us across regions, across time. You know, I like to think of the Bishnoi community almost 300 years ago in India, sometimes known as the original tree huggers. These were the women, the grandmothers, the mothers, the aunties who hugged the sacred trees in their community because they were being threatened to be cut down to build palaces. And fast forward to the 1970s, the Chipko movement, Chipko meaning hug. Again, this peaceful protest led by women to protect our natural resources. The Bolivian water wars, where women took to the streets to prevent water privatization. The Greenbelt movement, led by Dr. Wangari Maathai and thousands of women to green Africa and to start a global movement. To many of the more current stories of women stepping forward, knowing very much that what we do to women's bodies, we do to the earth. What we do to the earth, we do to women's bodies. This is very clear when we look at women around the world gathering water. Women spend 200 million hours daily gathering water, which could be time spent getting an education and contributing to local economies and creating for our future generations. Women produce most of our world's food, and yet own less than 10% of world's titled land and struggle to access inputs and training. Talking about women being inextricably linked to the environment, women take in the world's pollutants more than our male counterparts, and this is what we pass on to the next generation as well. So we're not only stewards, but we are also receptacles of the world's toxicity. And then safety, women in places where there's extreme energy extraction, instances of violence against women goes up in extreme numbers. And this is a story that we're seeing around the world. And so, my colleague often says, Gaji Cook, she says, women are the first environment. We all started in the womb, and this is something that we're a part of a legacy. And so Women's Earth Alliance started almost 20 years ago, 30 women from 26 countries. We came together because we saw that we are disproportionately impacted by the climate emergency, and we are also centrally located in the solution, and that we need to not only point out where we are disproportionately impacted, we need to point to the solutions that we know in our bones. We know in our bones, and all over the world at Women's Earth Alliance, every day we see women rolling up their sleeves and taking on the challenges right in front of them for the sake of their own families and for the sake of future generations that are yet to come.
Well, thank you very much for that. And very quickly, because we're running out of time, sadly, and I've got one last question for all our panelists here. Your organization, Women's Earth Alliance, empowers grassroots women leaders to drive change in their communities. So could you share maybe examples or tell us how their leadership can inspire others?
You know, it was said by several on this stage that when women have the solutions in our hands, we don't just empower ourselves. We pass that knowledge on to many others. An empowered woman reaches hundreds and thousands more with her innovations and solutions and inspiration. And that is the ripple effect that we want to tap into. You know, only 0.2% of philanthropic dollars go to women's environmental leadership on this planet. And yet, when women, you know, our tagline is when women thrive, the earth thrives. When women have access to resources, training, capacity building, visibility, and access to each other, everybody wins. We see that economically, environmentally, politically, socially. And so what we're doing at Women's Earth Alliance is uncovering what has been here all along. It's almost like it's in a network that can't see itself. But once we understand our power at every local community around the world, we are unstoppable.
Thank you so much. So yes, one last question to you in order to help. Well, we're not going to do it here today, of course, and certainly not in 30 minutes. But maybe address our topic of reconciliation and some actionable steps, or maybe your call to action to this audience. What can we do concretely to work on this reconciliation? Hindu, in 1 minute or less each.
That's challenging. So I'm coming from Chad. Over the last 2 months, we have over 2 million become homeless because of the floods. It didn't end. It's continuing right now when we are talking. So those people need a concrete response. My call of action for the COP fairs is to make all this loss and damage funding to become a reality. People needing it now. We have hundreds of deaths. We have all our land lost. By the next coming months, you will be hearing the food insecurity. So the responses cannot wait. We need action now, and this move from talk to the action, that really what I want now for my peoples that are waiting and suffering from this climate impact.
Thank you very much, Hindu. Melinda.
You know, so oftentimes they'll say, you know, don't take it personally. In terms of the climate emergency, I feel as though we all need to take it personally. I mean, that's my call to action, is to put ourselves in the center of this and know that we are all on the front lines. We're seeing the uptick in the climate crisis. We saw that in France last week in the flooding and what I call unnatural disasters all over the world. And so if we take it personally, that we're tapped on the shoulder to put our values, you know, into action in our families, in our communities, in our companies, in our governments. I think if we're coming from that place, we will know how to act.
Thank you very much. Nesreen now, please.
Well, it's a big question for a very 30 seconds, actually. Well, first of all, I just want us to use the image of the Russian dolls, okay? We cannot really reach the bigger one. Okay, we know.
It's like
I think that's genuinely a mistake.
Like for the Oscars, you have the music when it's time to.
Yes, really, we cannot reach the big one without really holding together the smallest one. So start small, and then your influence, they call it the butterfly effect, your influence will grow bigger and bigger. And I want to do something really quick with all of you. Let's do it.
All right.
Can we all stand up?
Okay.
Yeah, we all ate, so it's time to digest a bit. Okay, now we are talking about reconciliation and connection, right? But if this room cannot connect and reconcile with themselves and our neighbors, even if we don't know them, I don't think any audience outside will be able to do it, okay? So the first step of connection is to hold the hand of the people near to you, right and left. Sorry, I'm using my mic. Come on, guys, it's not very hard. I trust we all took our bath this morning. Okay, now let's put our hands up and close our eyes. I see you, your eyes are open. Now feel the connection with the universe, with Earth, with the people around you, with the person that you don't know, but you are holding his hand or her hand very tight. It's not awkward, it's fine. It's connection. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you. Well, that was really nice, wasn't
Do
it?
I really have to answer?
Really wonderful.
Do I really have
Barbara,
to answer now?
You're facing a big job here.
Okay, now, but reconciliation is about working together. So, with you, ladies, with all of you, and as a company, we have this big responsibility that comes through the offers that we are making and engaging our consumers. And we do also have the responsibility to work with the others, to open our eyes with the society. We are not a company, and certainly not L'Oréal Paris as a brand. We work with women, we want to empower them. But by doing this, we are also opening our eyes. We listen to the society, we listen to the world, we listen, for example, to our partners like Melinda, where we are doing lots of great programs together. So I think it's about that. It's about really considering that all stakeholders and partners are at the same level of interest, commitment, engagement, and this is how we're going to make things move eventually, is by all taking our responsibility and all taking it personally and making things happen, because we need to be in the real life of the people, in their everyday life, and of the women in particular, and this is how we are going to make things change, but we will do it together, and by working together, by listening to each other. There's no other solutions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You are in charge. It's also your job. Many thanks to all of you, our wonderful panelists. What a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much. Lovely to meet you all today. Thank you so much. Oh, I enjoyed that. Did you? Didn't feel awkward at all. No, it didn't actually. It was wonderful. And yet another reminder that as we're trying to reconcile with nature, what we need to do is also to reconcile, with each other, right? As humans.